start the recording. And today we are going to go over all of the features and functionality that you have access to through the Fort Bend Digital Library. First thing to point out is how to get to the digital library. If you want to, you can actually save this URL. It's up at the top here. It's lexisdl.com/library/Fort Bend Co. That's your guys' unique URL. So if you save that, anytime you open up to it, it'll automatically drop you on either the sign-on page or your home page if you've recently signed in. If you prefer using a mobile device, such as a tablet or a phone, we do have a free digital library app you can download. Just search for LexisNexis Digital Library on either the App Store for iPhones or the Google Play Store for Android devices. Either one will have access to the app, and that way you can download it, and everything you can do on your laptop or desktop, you can do on the app as well. Also, anything you do on one device will sync amongst all of your devices. So if you need to go from using your tablet to your laptop, any bookmarks, notes or highlights, all of your reading history will be saved from device to device. Once you log in, this will be your homepage. So we're looking at my homepage right now, my recently read titles. But from your homepage, you'll be able to quickly jump into anything you've recently opened. So you'll see your most recent titles up at the top here. Down below, it'll link out to any notes or highlights that you've added on volumes. Also, if you've created any tags, those will populate here as well. I think of tags as quick links to those volumes you're going to use over and over again. I'll show you how to add them later on in this call, but just know that those will populate on this homepage as well. On your left-hand side, you'll see your menu options. You can click on Browse Library, and that's going to take you to a couple curated collections that the library has put together. So if we scroll down here, there we go. Yeah, we're just gonna, oh, there it goes. Let me refresh this because there you go. So you have your recently added up at the top here. And then down below, you'll see your criminal law titles, your family law titles, lawyering skills, probate and estates, employment and personal injury law, civil litigation, and then all titles at the very bottom here. You'll see your first few volumes. So it shows, depending on how zoomed in or zoomed out your screen is, it'll show you the first, 6 to 8 volumes in each collection. If you ever want to see the entire collection, you can click See All 44 Titles or click the collection name itself, and that'll take you to the entire collection with all the volumes. Further down at the very bottom of this page, you're going to see hyperlinks for various subjects and jurisdictions. If you click See All 44 Subjects, that's going to take you to an alphabetical listing by jurisdiction and practice area of everything that's included within the digital library. So if you're just interested in all of our bankruptcy law titles, you can click on bankruptcy. It'll automatically narrow those results to just the bankruptcy specific volumes. However, up at the top, you'll see a search bar. That search bar would allow you to search for a title, an author, a subject, a practice area. So if you knew you just wanted everything in family law, you can type in family, and it's automatically going to narrow those results. This search bar is only going to look through title information though. So keep that in mind. It's only looking through, the author and title data. It's not looking through the content of an individual volume. When you're looking at your search results, this all titles option pops up. So as you scroll down, you're going to see every single volume expanded out. If you like to see the sets grouped together, you can click Sets, and it just automatically brings them all together. It's a user preference. It's an option. I just want to point that out. And then as you scroll down, you can click on any individual volume. So if you knew that volume 1 was exactly what you needed, you can click read, and it will automatically open that volume. However, if you need a little bit more information, you can click on the title itself. And what that's going to do is take you to what we call a book details page. This is where you're going to see all of the information you've ever needed to know about this volume. On the left-hand side, you'll see that there's edition and release information. There's a giant read button. So if you want to jump right into it, you can click the read button. Copy title link would allow you to share a link to this volume with anyone else that has access to the digital library. Tags down below here would allow you to create a tag for this volume. So again, if you know you're going to constantly need to access the same volume, you can tag it, and that way there'll be a quick link to it on both the home page and under the My Tag section to the left here. If you do like using tags, you can name them whatever you want. They're unique to your user ID, so no one else will ever see them. We don't touch them at any point. We don't delete them at any point. They'll be there until you delete them or you delete your user ID. So if we just wanted to create, the family law tag here, I can click family law, and you'll see it adds it down below. Now, again, anytime I need to access this volume, I can quickly link to it from my homepage. On the right-hand side, you have a number of other options. You have a table of contents, which if you click into it, you can actually expand out. Every single volume on the digital library has a hyperlinked table of contents attached to it. So as you scroll down, you'll see that every chapter and subchapter is hyperlinked. So you can click on any section to jump right to it. It's a really easy way to scroll through the TOC and jump right into what you're looking for. A little further down, you'll see we have links to each individual volume here. There's also a link to prior releases. If you do need to access a prior release, any volume that has prior releases attached to it will have this little drop down. When you click on it, you'll see that all of the prior releases
just stop. It's okay.
Are
it's okay.
Expanded out here. So as we scroll down, you'll see it tells you the release number, the release date, and then you'll have a blue read button. If you click on that read button, it will open up that specific release. Generally speaking, our prior releases go back to about 2011 in our system. If you ever need something further back than that, feel free to reach out to me and I can look for it. A lot of times we have it, it just hasn't been added to the digital library. Lastly, at the bottom of this page, you will have a search this title option. This is where you can actually run a search for a keyword or a phrase through the content of the volume itself. If you're looking at a volume that's part of a multi-volume set, like the one we currently are looking at, you'll have the ability to run a search through all volumes within that set. If it's just a single standalone volume title you're looking at, rather than saying all volumes, it'll just say this volume. But if we're looking for, we'll say instances of cohabitation, let's look for cohabitation agreements. I can type in my search term. You'll see on the right-hand side here, it's going to list out which volume, which section, and then it's going to show my search terms bolded and highlighted, as well as give you a little snippet of that section so you can see if it's on point with what you're currently researching. As you scroll down, you'll see a couple different hyperlinks. The share hyperlink would allow you to share a link to this volume and section with anyone else that has access to the digital library. So it's a nice way to share a more specific link to a chapter or section rather than just to the volume itself. And then go to passage would allow you to just open it up and jump right to that specific section. So if I click go to passage here, you'll see that it's going to open up. And this is actually really good because I wanted to show you guys this too. So if it's a title that you've accessed previously and have added any notes or highlights to, you might come across this dropdown. What it's going to tell you is that you're opening a new release of this volume since the last time you opened it, and that you've previously added notes or highlights on a prior release. And what it's asking you is if you want to copy those notes and highlights over to the new release. You don't have to, it's completely up to you, but if you do want your notes and highlights to copy from release to release, all you have to do is click copy annotations, and it will automatically copy over all of those prior notes and highlights from the previous release to this newest release. Again, it's completely up to you, but you have that option. So now I'm going to go ahead and open that release up. And when I do, it's going to drop me to that specific section. It'll highlight where your search term pops up just to draw your eye to it. And then from here, you can continue on with your research. Does anyone have any questions about how I got to this point? Okay. And also, if throughout today's session, if you guys do have questions, feel free to interrupt me. I know since we're not sitting there in person with you, I can't see if you guys do have questions, so just shout out and I'll stop as we go. Once you're in a volume, you're going to have access to a number of different options. It defaults to open in this 2-page view, almost like you had the book open on your desk. If you prefer a single page view, up in the top right-hand corner of your screen next to that bookmark icon, you'll also see these 3 lines. When you click on those, you'll have this 1 page per screen view. So if you do prefer a single page view, you can change it. Also, if you like using keyboard shortcuts, we list out all of your keyboard commands up at the top here. And if you utilize a screen reader, all of our titles are compatible with 99% of the screen readers on the market. Under keyboard commands, it will walk you through how to utilize a screen reader alongside our titles. But if you need any further assistance, reach out to me, reach out to the library staff. We can assist you with it. On the bottom of the page here, you're going to see your additional menu options. On the far bottom right corner, you have a settings option. You can customize pretty much everything about how you're viewing each of these volumes. Everything from the background lighting, if you don't like the bright white background, to the size of the font, the spacing, the type of font, if you don't like the publisher's default. All of this is customizable. And if you take the time to customize it, it will remember it for future use. So feel free to change the settings to whatever you prefer. On the far left side of the screen, you have a print option. You can print full chapters, sections, individual pages, whatever it is you need to. You can print a physical copy or print a PDF, whatever you prefer. If you know you're printing quite a bit, we do suggest using Google Chrome to print. It just tends to give you better print options. However, you can print using any of the modern browsers, so Chrome, Chromium, Firefox, Safari, all of those systems will work. A little further right, you have a table of contents. So this will show you where you currently are within the volume. All of the sections are hyperlinked, so you can quickly scroll through and jump into any section just by clicking on it. You'll also have a find feature. That's going to allow you to run a search for a keyword or a phrase through this volume that you're in. You can run a search for a new term, or we can use the same one. What that's going to do is show you where your search terms pop up. It'll bold your search terms. And as you scroll down, you'll see that every section is hyperlinked. So if I click into it, it'll jump me right to it. Up at the top here, it'll tell you all of your matches, and you can use the forwards and backwards arrow keys to quickly jump from result to result. And if you want to see that list again, you can click Show All, and it will pull it up for you. Probably the most used feature within the digital library is the ability to highlight and annotate each of these volumes. You can add as many notes or highlights as you like to every volume. Your notes and highlights are unique to your user ID. No one else will ever see them. We don't delete them at any point. They will be there indefinitely until you delete them or you delete your user ID. They're also always available to you from multiple spots within the digital library. If you'd like to add a note or a highlight, all you have to do is click and drag your cursor. Click and drag your cursor. And when you do, a few options will pop up. That very first option is add annotation. When you click on that, you'll see it defaults to the bright yellow highlighter, but you can actually change that to any of the colors we have here. And you can add any notes that you'd like to. There's not a limitation on the number of notes you can add or how long of a note you need to add. but we can just put whatever we want. Click save. And you'll see it adds that highlighter, and there's a little red sticky note icon that appears. That's just your visual cue to let you know that there's an annotation attached to that highlight. As you scroll through, you can add as many notes or highlights as you want. Again, all you have to do is click and drag your cursor, click that add annotation. You can change the highlighting colors as you go. It's very easy. If you don't want to add a note, just click save, and it will automatically add that highlight. Now, a few other options appear when you click and drag that cursor. The second one is copy with citation. That would actually copy that section of text to a clipboard, and when you paste it into a Word document or an email, it will include the citation for you. Copy passage link would allow you to copy a link to this highlighted text that you can then share with anyone else that has access to the digital library. So it's a nice way to share a link to a very specific section rather than just to the volume or the chapter itself. And then find and define will do just that. If you've highlighted a term or a phrase, you can either define it or search for it within this text. Your notes and highlights are always available to you. And again, they're in multiple spots throughout the digital library. The first is always going to be when you're in the title itself. You have an annotations option down below here. When you click on that, you're going to see all of the notes and highlights you've added. So right here, you'll see newest to oldest. So the ones we just added. But as you scroll down here, you'll also see those ones that we imported a little bit ago, where it asked us if we wanted to copy over our notes and highlights. So you'll see those down below. From here, you'll see that it shows you what you highlighted, what color you highlighted it in. If you've added any notes, you can edit or delete them right from here. If there's quite a few notes and highlights, you can actually run a search for a term or a phrase through them. You can narrow by highlighting colors at this point. And if you want to have a hard copy, you can print a hard copy or print a PDF right from this page as well. So a lot of different options when it comes to notes and highlights. The last thing I want to talk about when we're in a title itself are all of the different hyperlinks you're going to see. Anything you see hyperlinked in blue will just link you within this volume. Anything you see hyperlinked in green, those are going to be your cases and codes. Those would want to link out to that case or code on Lexis Plus. If you're in the library itself, it should automatically open up to that case or code. However, if you're accessing the digital library remotely, it's not going to open up that case or code unless you already have your own Lexis account. So if you happen to click on a note or a highlight, what it will do is actually open up a brand new browser window, new tab, so you never lose your spot within the digital library title itself. If you haven't logged in to the digital or to Lexis Plus recently, it'll ask you to sign in. Now, again, if you don't have your own Lexis account, this is where it would end. You wouldn't be able to sign in. But if you have, it will then automatically open up that case or code that you clicked on. So it just saves the extra step of having to find that case or code on your own or run another search for it. Again, if you don't have your own Lexis ID, it'll just stop you at that sign-on page. There's no way to incur an additional charge or anything. It'll just stop you at that sign-on screen. Does anyone have any questions about the functionality within an ebook at this point? Okay. I'm going to close out of this screen. When I do, it just drops me to where we started, which were those search results. I can either jump into another one, or I can click close and start fresh. One thing I want to point out is that the majority of your titles are set to simultaneous use, meaning there should be always available to you. So anything that's a LexisNexis title or a Matthew Bender title, those should always be available to you. For instance, this one is a LexisNexis title. However, there are a handful of additional publishers that you have access to through the digital library. Let me go back to browse here so I can show you. Let's find a James Publishing. Here you go. So this happens to be a James Publishing title. You'll see that any James Publishing title looks pretty much exactly the same. The cover image does. But the difference here is if you click into it, rather than it being always available, it will say how many copies are available of the volume. James Publishing happens to be a publisher that we have an alliance agreement with, meaning we can add them to our product. However, they don't allow it to be simultaneous use. So you'll only see it as one copy. The difference when you go to borrow it is that when you click read, this will pop up and it will just let you know that you're borrowing the title. You can have it for up to 7 days, and you can borrow up to 3 limited copy titles at any one time. When you click borrow, it'll automatically open up, just like we did prior. Again, the only difference is that you'll have that one little extra pop-up screen first that lets you know that it's a limited copy title. For those titles that are limited copies, you'll have them, or you'll have access to them for a week if you need it. However, if you're finished with it early, you can go into the My Books section on the left-hand side here. And this section will keep track of everything you've ever borrowed within the digital library. It's just a longer running list than what we can keep on that homepage. So as the library ages and you've borrowed, a number of titles, you can actually search back to the very first title you borrowed years ago and jump into it if you need to. But for those limited copy titles, you'll see when you go in here, there's a little clock icon that appears. If you'd like to return this volume early, all you have to do is click on that little clock. It'll tell you how long you have it for, but if you want to return it, you can just by clicking return. And it will automatically go back into circulation. Now, if you forget to do that, or if you actually need it for the 7 days, not a problem. After the 7 days is up, it'll automatically just go back into circulation. And that's so that if anyone else needs it and they've placed a hold on that volume, they'll immediately have access to it. And the reason I walked through this whole process is that I wanted to be able to show you this place a hold. So for those limited copy titles, if someone else has already borrowed it and you need access to it, you can actually place a hold on that volume. So rather than saying read, it'll just say place a hold. When you click place a hold, it'll ask you to enter your email address. And then all you have to do is click place hold, and it will automatically add a hold for that volume. And as soon as that volume becomes available for you, you'll receive an email letting you know it's available and directing you to log into the digital library so that you can borrow it. Down at the bottom of the menu here, you have my tags. So again, if you've added tags, you'll see them all listed out here as well as on the homepage. And then my annotations on the left-hand side is going to show you any notes or highlights that you've added broken down by volume. So if we click in here to the ones we just added, you'll see that it's letting you know that we did copy over those notes and highlights from the prior release. I can review the ones I copied over if I want to. And it'll tell you, there you go. It'll tell you if any of them failed or if they were all successful. Luckily, all of these were successful to copy over. But if for some reason something does fail, most of the time it's because that section of text has changed. So this will just show you, which ones have failed. And then you can go in and see, was that section of text deleted? Was it just 1 or 2 words that have changed? You'll be able to do further research at that point. Looking at all of your notes and highlights here, a couple different things you can do. You'll see that it tells you what color, what you highlighted, any notes you added. There's a citation hyperlink, so if you want to jump right into it again, you can. And what I'm going to do is just select all of them here so you can see it. When I do, this little actions option pops up. Now, I can either copy all of those notes and highlights to a clipboard, or I can add them to an export queue. So I'm going to do that. You'll see it adds them over here to my queue. And what's really nice is that if you're working on a project you can actually add multiple notes and highlights from multiple volumes to your queue. So we'll just go into the ones I'd added to this other volume here. You can add those over to that queue as well. And now when I look at my queue, it's going to show you all of the notes and highlights grouped together by those volumes. And as I scroll down, you'll see it lists them all out. And up at the top here, I can actually filter them by the highlighting color. On the right-hand side, I can run a search for a term or phrase I'm looking for through all of my notes and highlights. And once I have selected the ones that I want to download, this little actions option appears. And from here, I have a few different things I can do. I can always copy and paste if that's all I want. However, from the export queue, I can download to a Google Drive account, a PDF, a PDF or a CSV Excel file. So we do give you a few other options when it comes to organizing and downloading your notes and highlights. When you're done, you can remove them from your queue, or if you're still working on something, you can leave them in here indefinitely. Again, we never touch your notes and highlights, so they will be there permanently until you delete them or you delete your user ID. That is pretty much the digital library in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions about anything we covered at this point? Okay. Well, if you do end up having questions as you use the digital library, always reach out to your library staff. They can assist you with any questions you have, or feel free to reach out to me. I'm Andrea Roberts, again, your LexisNexis digital library consultant. You can always reach me by email at andrea.roberts@lexisnexis.com. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining me this afternoon. I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful long weekend, because hopefully most of us have Monday off. Again, any questions, reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. So thanks, everyone.